I recently visited Puerto Rico and had a great time. Plus, my trip didn't break the bank at all. Whether you've had Puerto Rico on your bucket list for a long time now or just started considering a visit, flights to Puerto Rico are as cheap as they've ever been. I mean, I've seen flights for less than $100 round trip from multiple airports this year. So let's take a look at what you need to know to make your Puerto Rico trip a reality. In this video, I'll share some tips that I learned while traveling in Puerto Rico and give you an overview of how to plan a trip there without having to spend thousands of dollars. And by the way, if you're new to my channel, I'm David G. Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States, so it uses the dollar and you don't need a passport to travel there. Flights from the mainland US to Puerto Rico aren't any different from other domestic flights. And really the only thing to keep in mind is that when traveling back from Puerto Rico to the mainland US, you'll have to undergo a quick agricultural check with your baggage. Spanish is the main language of Puerto Rico, but being a part of the United States, English is taught in schools and most Puerto Ricans are bilingual. Even if you can get around alright without speaking much Spanish though, it's always useful to know some basics of the language of the place that you're visiting. In Puerto Rico, it's important to keep in mind that the sun can be really strong. And the best way to avoid sunburn is to diligently keep sunscreen applied at all times when outside. When packing, it's also important to remember that it's warm and humid year-round. I'm here in May, and as it leads up to hurricane season, you can have a lot of rain at times, but it usually goes away pretty quick. My recommendation is to always come prepared with a change of clothes and whatever else you need to deal with the rain. Puerto Rico's rainy season is usually between April and November, and the dry season conveniently coincides with winter in the mainland US. Any time is a good time to visit Puerto Rico, but towards the end of summer you start to get into hurricane season. If you visit Puerto Rico during that time, it's important to plan for the heat and remain flexible because a hurricane could upend your plans and cause you to have to reschedule your trip. You're most likely to enter Puerto Rico via San Juan Airport. And San Juan is a great city to base yourself in too. Distances around the island from San Juan are short enough that anywhere has the potential to be a nice day trip. In general, I would recommend renting a car because the public transport options are pretty poor and the car is generally going to cost you less than hiring a private driver or taking a tour. That's not to mention that having a car will give you more flexibility. That said, if you only wanted to visit the city of San Juan, you could probably get around without a car. But after we take a look at some of the places that you can visit outside of San Juan, I'm willing to bet that you're going to want to incorporate some of them into your travel plans. Let's take a look at a few places that could be good to visit. El Yunque National Forest might be the most well-known option, and for good reason. El Yunque is the only tropical rainforest that's a part of the US National Forest System. The visitor center is a good place to start and get any information that you need about El Yunque. There are some endangered Puerto Rican parrots living there, and the walking platform has nice jungle views too. Inside El Yunque, the main attraction is the biodiverse jungle. There's a great lookout tower to take in the views from. You can see way out to the coast over the jungle if you climb all the stairs to the top. And there are a few waterfalls around the forest. They're definitely worth a stop. River swimming in and around the park is really popular. When I visited, it was really hot, so I hiked down to a swimming hole along the river to cool down for a while. Visiting a finca is a great way to get a feel for rural Puerto Rico. A finca is kind of like a Puerto Rican ranch, except instead of cows, there are lots of tropical fruits and windmills. During my recent trip, I stopped by the Finca Don Manuel and can only recommend it. It was about an hour and a half driving from San Juan, and since I started early, I still had time to explore the area a little more after my visit. When visiting, you get to try some of the foods they produce. And they had an amazing lunch of local food after going around the finca and seeing bananas, plantains, papayas, and pineapples. Oh yeah, and there's some coconuts over here too. Their virgin pina colada made from pineapples from the finca and coconuts from nearby was also really tasty. There are many fincas around the island, so it's worth looking at incorporating a finca visit into your travel plans. There are also coffee growing fincas that are worth visiting, but sadly on my trip I didn't have time to visit one. Given that coffee only grows in a few places in the US, I'm definitely going to visit one next time I go to Puerto Rico. Ponce is located in the south of Puerto Rico and it's the island's second biggest city. The south of Puerto Rico is a lot drier than the north, and the day I visited it was much hotter too. Ponce has a much more laid-back feeling than San Juan, and the old town is definitely worth a visit. There are beautiful plazas and streets, and it's one of those cities where history just kind of fills the air. And with the heat, ice cream is the treat of choice. There's also an old fire station turned museum that shouldn't be missed. But Puerto Rico is not just cities and farms. When you think of Puerto Rico, you probably think of beaches too. The beach options are pretty endless, and you can easily go beach hopping from San Juan with a car. If you just choose to stick to the beaches in San Juan though, you will not be disappointed. Many hotels also have private beaches set up with lounge chairs and all. So if all you're looking for on a beach is the chill element, then that may be the way to go. On my recent trip, I stayed at the Hilton Caribe, and the private beach was really a plus. This place has got a lot of history. It's the first Hilton hotel opened up outside of the continental US back in 1949. and it also happens to be the place that the Pina Colada was invented. So it's not just the soulless chain hotel like many other chain hotels are. I was able to get a few benefits for holding Hilton Diamond status and paid around $200 a night. This is a little above what I'd usually pay, but I was able to check in for free early in the morning, check out late, got an upgraded room, and had free breakfast included each morning. In San Juan, there are a large variety of different places to stay though, so if the price were any higher, I probably would have chosen somewhere else. You should be able to find a solid place to stay for under $150 in any season. There are also some other cool options around the island, including things like glamping on a finca and staying in the jungle. For a longer trip, a few nights in Ponce could also be nice. I recommend that you take a look on Google Hotels to compare the best options for your stay. For a more in-depth look at how to find the best prices using Google Hotels, check out my other video about that using the link in the description. And then the food in Puerto Rico is really nice. Mofongo is one of the most well-known dishes, and I personally became familiar with mofongo from Dominican friends when I lived in Uptown Manhattan. Both Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic lay claim to the dish though. After trying the Puerto Rican version and the Dominican version, I can say that they're both really good. If I had to differentiate them, I'd say that the Puerto Rican one is a little bit lighter in its consistency. Ceviche is another great dish in Puerto Rico. There are many variations of ceviche and you can get all different kinds of seafood in it. The national beer of choice is Medalla, and fresh juices and locally grown coffee are also commonplace in Puerto Rico. You can find the most popular foods from the mainland US pretty easily too, but prices may be a little bit higher due to the costs of shipping things in. All in all, Puerto Rico isn't the cheapest destination for eating, but you can eat pretty well for around $30 a day if you avoid really fancy places. And then when night rolls around, the tree frogs start to chirp and it can be really enchanting. I'd first heard them on the big island of Hawaii, where I was told that they're actually indigenous to Puerto Rico. While they always lull me right to sleep, you might want to carry earplugs if you're a light sleeper. And on that note, muchísimas gracias for watching, and if you have any open questions or awesome tips about Puerto Rico to share, just drop a comment. If you found this video helpful, then make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos to help you travel better.